Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name's Rob, and I am discovering everything about Denmark. And today, I want to learn about some of Denmark's discoveries. What have they invented that has changed the world?
All right, so I'm excited for this one. Let's just
Okay, well, I
jump
know
right
Skype.
in. Starting at number 10, we have the invention of Skype. Skype is a telecom app that specializes in providing video chats and voice calls between computers, tablets, and different mobile devices.
I would suggest, though, Skype has plummeted in popularity. It really, really has. I used to use Skype all the time. I didn't know it was Danish. So that's an interesting one. But also the fact that there are others around now which probably do a better job. I think Zoom really grew during COVID. But then you've got like Discord as well and Slack, which is including more of a chat room at the same time. So I don't think Skype anymore is quite as useful or relevant.
Even use them on Xboxes. Now, Skype was founded in
Correct me if I'm
2003 by Nicholas Zennström, who is from Sweden, and Jannis Friis from Denmark. And in September of 2005, he and his partner sold Skype to eBay for $2.6 billion. And Jannis Friis maintained ownership interest in Skype and sold it to Microsoft for $8.5 billion in May of 2011.
Wow.
Now, of course, I cannot include Lego in this episode. So these colorful building blocks started in Denmark back.
So I know this one, Lego. You've obviously got Billund is the home of Lego. It's somewhere I really want to go, and I'm not a huge Lego person at all. I don't collect Lego or anything like that, but everyone knows about Lego. And I know they've got like a cool thing where when you go into the restaurant, you build the bricks and then slide it into a machine and it then knows what you want to order. It's just really, really cool. It is on the list of places to go to see Lego Land.
Back in the year 1932 in a workshop in Billund, Denmark to be exact, and this workshop was run by Ole Kirk Christiansen. Now, Lego sets have passed on from generation to generation, and they span across cultures, and you know, they keep reinventing Legos. They have like Batman Lego, all kind of Lego. It's sold everywhere in the world. Everybody knows about it. Everybody talks about it, and yeah. And if you didn't know, it's of two Danish words, leg and godt, meaning play well. Number 8 brings us handball. So we can look at handball way back to like the ancient Romans and the ancient Greeks. They played a version of early handball, but it wasn't until later societies where the modern game of handball was invented, which most historians attribute to the efforts of Denmark, as well as Germans and Swedes.
Now, handball is one of those sports that I know of, I've seen clips of, but probably very similar to football, you know, in the fact that football, for example, has been around for centuries and centuries and centuries in some form. And it was actually in England when it was codified and created into an official sport. But even before then, there was, you know, the universities playing some form and villages playing some form. And that would be what I assume. At the end of the day, the form of, you know, handball, basketball, that sort of thing would have been around for so long. Having something, pig's bladder or something, I don't know, and throwing it. But when does it become handball? It technically becomes handball probably when it's codified. So there you go. Never really watched handball though. No. Don't know if it interests me or not. It might do. Never tried it.
However, historians actually suggest that the Danish athlete named Holger Nielsen played a big role in standardizing the rules and structure of the modern game of handball. Number 7 brings us the loudspeaker. Danish engineer Peter Jensen and the American Edwin Pridham, they worked together back in 1915 to invent the Magnavox, which was the first loudspeaker that the world ever saw. Now, as you can imagine, the use of a speaker for public things was completely game-changing. You can reach a larger audience. Even the US President Woodrow Wilson used a Magnavox in 1919 to address the audience in San Diego. There's also the invention of the light machine gun.
Okay, let's go back to the sounds, the speaker. How that, when you think about it, how important it actually is, it is huge. Like, how do you speak to a large group of people without speakers? I'm just thinking, like, I'm thinking now back to the Aztecs and, you know, on their pyramid things and and I'm just talking nonsense. But how has that changed? And speakers are everywhere now, right? I've got speakers, smart speakers, and when you go to a music concert, it's speakers. When you even go to a theatre, so you can hear them on the stage. There are like speakers are everywhere. It's insane. So wow, that really is an invention that has changed and probably improved the world. That's incredible.
The Madson
Light
is a
machine
light
gun.
machine
Little
gun
bit less
that
so.
Julius A. Rasmussen and Theodore Strubu designed and proposed for adoption by Colonel Wilhelm Hermann Olaf Madsen, who was a Danish minister of war, and the Danish army ended up adopting these in 1902. And what makes it so significant was that these were the world's first true light machine guns that were produced in large quantity, and they were able to sell to over 34 different countries. They were used in combat for over 100 years. At number 5, halfway in, we have electromagnetism, which is attributed to Hans Christian Ørsted, and he was born in August 14th, 1777, and he lived up until March 9th, 1851. So who was he? Well, he was a Danish physicist and chemist who discovered that electrocurrents create magnetic fields, which was the first connecting piece between electricity and magnetism, and Ørsted's law and Ørsted was named after him. Number 4 brings us...
To be fair, I don't know enough about electromagnetism, and he doesn't really go into it that much, does he? What it specifically is. So in the comments, if you've got more details, please leave the comments down there. Like electromagnetism, I've obviously heard of it, but it is not something I can explain to you off the top of my hat without checking about it. So if you want to save me a job, in the comments down below, let me know. And also like and subscribe while you're down there. Pure yeast.
Pure yeast.
For beer.
Now, back in 1887, there was a whole lot of excitement for beer drinkers of Denmark when Dr. Emil Christian Hansen discovered a method of actually creating what is called pure yeast. And that ended the beer disease that was plaguing the country years before. Now, this whole method changed everything.
That just shows I need to discover about the beer plague, don't I? That's on the next on the list to check out.
Everything for the entire industry, and the new yeast was rightfully named the Saccharomyces carlsbergensis. We can also thank Denmark for...
So there we go. That's linking, obviously, Danish Carlsberg, isn't it? So the world can be thankful. Now, it's not that they invented beer. They did not invent beer. They invented pure yeast. But how many countries in the world drink beer? That then shows the impact that pure yeast has had. Impressive stuff. Is it just for beer, though? Is it not for cakes and other things, breads that need yeast for rise? I assume you would use pure yeast for that. I'm trying to think what I've got in my cupboard. Must be pure yeast, surely. Okay, dry cell battery.
For the dry cell battery. Frederick Louis Wilhelm Hellensen is known to be the person that designed one of the first dry cell batteries all the way back in 1887. And because of his invention, batteries were able to be transported a lot easier. Now, after starting his own factory to produce these batteries, he started selling his batteries to the Danish telephone company. And now today, the company Duracell, we all know those guys, they own Hellensen's brand name. Number 2, we have
batteries. There you go. Like another thing that is so important in everyday life. For your TV remote. Now I'm struggling to think of what else I'd use batteries for. That's bad, isn't it? Toys for kids. Also, there's a cat behind my monitor, and Pierogi is an arsehole. But we always need batteries. Batteries in your key, in your key fob. These really are like world-changing inventions that the Danes have come up with. But next is what it seems quite a modern one. Google Maps.
Google Maps. Now, Google Maps was first started as a program designed by 2 Danish brothers, Lars and Jens Ilstrup Rasmussen, and they were actually a Sydney, Australia-based company named Where2 Technologies. Now, it was first designed to be separately downloaded by users, but the company later actually pitched the idea for just a purely web-based product to Google, which changed the whole method of distribution. And in October 2004, the company was acquired by Google Inc.
And there you go. You associate Google and Google Maps, right? That's one thing. But no, it was sold to them, and then they've just integrated it into everything. And where would you be without Google Maps? Like, where would you be? You wouldn't be. Like, they're incredible because you had the era of sat navs. Sat navs were good, but could lead you into a lot of trouble because they wouldn't, they weren't updated as often. Whereas Google Maps, now clearly over time it's improved, it's adapted. But look what you've got now, and it all started because of two Danes. The whole thing of when there's roadworks, when there's closed roads, when there's traffic. It can divert you. You had the stories years ago of people following sat navs and ending up in ditches because they were too stupid to stop and look. They would just follow. But you don't get that with Google, do you? Google is incredible. You'll sometimes not get to the right destination, but it is still pretty incredible, and created by two Danes down in Australia. Oh, amazing. Last one.
There was the discovery
Insulin.
of insulin. So the Danes are responsible for finding the relationship between hemoglobin and the concentration
how important
of
insulin
carbon
is to people.
dioxide, otherwise known as the Bohr effect. And this was published by the Nobel Peace Prize winner August Krogh and Christian Bohr, who was a son of Niels Bohr, back in 1904. Now, this finding was a huge contribution to the medical field, and it led to the discovery of insulin at Novo Nordisk, which is a Danish-founded company that is still exploding with new ideas and innovations today. And just like that, another...
Well, there you go. There's top 10. Insulin, we know how important that is. How many people rely on insulin? People that are diabetic, for example. And I mean, no doubt insulin is not just useful for diabetics. They are truly life and world-altering different inventions. Skype was huge in its time. When really computers and everything were getting more personal, more in everyone's homes. That was important. Lego, it's Lego. Like, everyone in the world must have heard of Lego, for Christ's sake. Handball, little less world-changing. That's probably the least world-changing and an important one. Loudspeakers, incredibly important now, used all the time. Light machine guns, well... Whether you'd say they're important or killing people, that's down to you. Electromagnetism. Now, I'm in no doubt. Is electromagnetism used in MRI scanners? Maybe. I may be wrong, and I may be thinking wrong, so confirm with me. Pure yeast. Beer. I don't really drink beer. I'm a cider drinker, so that doesn't really affect me, but I know it does. That's still a big one, especially when they're talking about it had like a beer plague going on and illnesses. So that's incredible. Dry cell batteries, we use them every day in almost everything. It's incredible. And I'm in no doubt that those batteries are what has developed into better technology, like everything. Google Maps, Google Maps, like I use it almost every day. And obviously insulin, which saves people's lives. Incredible inventions by the Danes. Not all of them were necessarily living in Denmark, but they were Danish, and some had help from other countries. But you get that with especially the scientists. It's quite often not just one scientist who discovers something. It's multiple. Incredible, absolutely incredible. And they are certainly some amazing inventions that the Danes have come up with. A lot that have changed the world for the better, mostly. But there you go. If there's any more, let me know in the comments down below. If you've got any videos to recommend, any interesting ones, any funny ones, as long as they're in English or have English subtitles, then that's the most important thing. But as always, like, subscribe, socials are down there, and I will catch you next time.